The devastation in Puerto Rico is hard to comprehend without seeing it firsthand. It's been 2 months since Hurricane Maria, and still many parts of the island are in ruins. Slowly but surely, there are signs of improvement, but it's not coming quickly enough for many who are without water, without power, without adequate health care, and quite frankly, without much hope. We were invited to go along on a relief mission where donations, some of them from Central Texas, are making a difference. It was nearly a Cat 5 when it hit.
The house was shaking, and they were underneath when they came out that the entire house would be gone.
Maria showed no mercy and indiscriminately destroyed or damaged hundreds of thousands of homes.
It takes a long time to recover from a disaster like this.
And lives. The official death toll stands at 51. Dalian Caraballo is a doctor in Miami who grew up in Puerto Rico. She knows better.
There's lack of transportation. There's people that died up in the mountains, and they don't have, a way to come down. They're buried down in their own houses, and those are the numbers that we don't see and we don't have.
So 51 can't be.
No, it can't.
Dr. Caraballo is part of an army, not with guns and bombs, but rather medical supplies and compassion. She works with doctors on the island who know what supplies are needed. She finds the supplies, looks for donations to pay for them, and has them flown in.
We collect them, and we send it out to Puerto Rico.
And with the help of people like
With the help, absolutely, with the help of my angels.
These are her angels, Steve Giordano and Bob Allen. They're pilots for a group called the Humanitarian Lift Project.
After watching the news and kind of seeing what was going on post-Maria in Puerto Rico and hearing about the bottleneck, I started kind of inquiring how we could help.
They learned early on that some of the supplies weren't making it to their intended destinations, but whether they're stolen or handed out.
Bottom line, one way or another, it's getting to somebody that needs something.
We're tagging along with the Lift Project. Their Cessna Citation is loaded with donations. The HLP has been operating out of their own pockets, making flights to and from Puerto Rico. They help cut through the governmental red tape. For example, you'd think that getting a tarp from FEMA would be easy. Dr. Kenera Thompson says it's anything but.
They have to come down to the main municipal area where FEMA is based to make a formal request or home-by-home assessment.
For a tarp?
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of red tape for a tarp.
Well, yeah, I think, there's a lot of different processes and that, in my opinion, just delays people getting the supplies that they need.
Crispin Perez is with FEMA. He's from San Antonio and volunteered for this assignment. He's one of the few people here who sees a light at the end of the tunnel.
There's progress to be made, and there's progress going on every day. And like I said, we've got the right people on the ground. We've got the right people communicating with the people that are from here and making that happen.
FEMA is here, so is the military, and they're doing what they can to make a desperate situation better. But this battle will ultimately be won by a different army, not with guns and bombs, but human kindness and generosity.
That's what this is all about. It's making sure the people that need the help get it quickly so that they can start getting control of their lives and getting back to as normal as possible.
Tomorrow night, we'll follow these donations up into the mountains of south central Puerto Rico, where some of these residents are struggling to put their lives back together. And there's good news and bad news in Puerto Rico. The good, the main metro areas are showing signs of life again. The hospitals are open, the shopping centers, even some hotels, most of them running on generators. The bad news, in the remote mountain communities, many of the roads have been cleared, but they're still months away from getting electricity restored. And clean water is a luxury. We traveled to these areas where we saw how these people are getting by one day at a time, thanks to volunteers. This wood frame house may not look like much by our standards, but to a family of 4, it's home. When Hurricane Maria hit, the family was cut off from civilization for weeks. Now they're sick and getting desperate, but help is on its way. An hour and a half away, this used to be the president's office at the Ponce Health Sciences Center. Now it's a pharmacy of sorts, and the president has a new role.
We're gathering medication, medical supplies, some food items, and mosquito repellent, bed nets, tarp, whatever we may possibly need, because we go on these missions, we don't really know what we're going to run into.
MDs, nurses, psychologists, students, and any able-bodied volunteer available pitches in. The caravan is headed to an orphanage in Adjuntos, up in the mountains. They're not even set up yet, and the patients are already waiting, including this little girl.
Most of the things that I'm seeing is just skin rashes, dermatitis, infected bites, and stuff like that.
And that's what she has?
Yeah.
There are a lot of illnesses being treated at this makeshift clinic: gastrointestinal problems, skin infections, respiratory problems. But right now, one of the most pressing problems are mental health problems. After all, how can you rebuild if you don't have hope?
It's very overwhelming, but we want to change that. We want to give them hope that tomorrow we will have a better day, and we are here to help them.
For those who can't come get help, help goes to them. Most of the roads have been cleared, but that doesn't mean it's easy traveling. This lady's 95 years old and has lived in this house most of her life. Leaving for a hurricane wasn't an option.
They're completely isolated, so they don't have power. They have no running water, so they're dependent on people bringing water and food items.
The team assesses her vitals, and she's fit as a fiddle. Further up in the mountains, this couple rode out the storm in their basement.
It felt like the entire structure above where they were sheltered was being just blown away.
As the winds whipped, they huddled in the basement for several days, not knowing what to expect when the storm subsided.
They were not afraid for their own safety, because they're very faithful. They knew that there was going to be a greater power that was going to look out for them, and they knew that even if there was damage to the structure, that they were going to be safe.
The road gets rougher, so we pile into Freddie's four-wheel drive Jeep. There's a family still waiting at the end for help. A family that scratched out a living here for 4 generations.
So this is her family. Her father was born here. Her entire family was raised in this land, this piece of land.
They're proud of their mountain home and strong in their faith.
That they wrote that this home is dedicated to the new promise of God.
And while Dad is reluctant to leave, he agrees to go see a doctor.
He's having some respiratory problems, so they're going to go up to the clinic.
Our mission here is done, and now it's time to head back. But the old Jeep has other ideas. And just when it looks like we're stuck, the man we came here to rescue comes to our rescue. A little Puerto Rican ingenuity, and we're back on the road. We were a long way from civilization. I think we'd still be there if he hadn't come to our rescue. Now, tomorrow night, we'll see how medical evacuees are making their way to the mainland for treatment that they can't get in Puerto Rico. The situation in Puerto Rico, in many ways, is improving, but any sort of real recovery will take a long time. As we learned while we were traveling with relief teams in Puerto Rico, there are still some major issues that need to be dealt with before any sort of victory can be declared. It's the calm after the storm. Puerto Rico is a stunningly beautiful island. Hurricane Maria tried to take that away but didn't succeed. Still, the scars remain, and they run deep. This mountain spring was one of the few sources of water around Adjuntos, but there's no guarantee that it's safe. The doctors here at this clinic treat a lot of gastrointestinal problems from drinking bad water. Jose Lopez de Victoria is part of a group of medical students from Ponce. They help the residents here in the mountains help themselves by educating them about safe water, food, and what illnesses to look out for.
Just want to keep people as healthy as possible for as long as possible and just prevent more deaths from happening.
These filters work for 1 million gallons.
Tessa Hahn co-founded a nonprofit called 3to5days.org. 3 to 5 days. That's how long we can survive without water. They put together this bucket system that can filter out impurities from practically any water source.
This is the actual filter right here. It works with gravity flow. So the more water that you put in, it actually comes right out, and it removes 99.99999% of all contaminants, protozoa, cysts,
so you
cholera.
Put anything in here,
you can put anything
except
except salt water.
The buckets are a part of just about every trip made by the Humanitarian Lift Project. These pilots are helping cut through the governmental red tape to get the supplies where they need to go. Like the makeshift medical clinic in Adjuntos. We just saw a family walk out of here with donations that you brought here. How does that make you feel?
It's awesome. I mean, look, you know, we're making a small dent each time.
This area, way up in the mountains of Puerto Rico, is never going to return to any sense of normal until the electricity service is restored. And as you can see, that's going to take some doing.
It's not an easy fix, but it's a fix.
Crispin Perez is with FEMA. He has no idea how long it will take to fix the grid, but he's confident that it will get done.
We're one of the richest, powerful countries in the world. We can do it.
Our trip is almost done, but our plane won't be empty on the way home. Hilda Sotomares and her husband are in poor health, and they're not getting any better with the medical care in Puerto Rico. They're going with us to see doctors in Miami.
We've transported cancer patients in need of treatment and diabetics that are in need of treatment and elderly folks and children and all kinds of people.
When I asked how long they expected to be on the mainland, they sadly shrugged their shoulders. They have no idea. It's estimated that since Maria, more than 100,000 Puerto Ricans have left the impoverished island. More are leaving every day. Many of them have no intentions of returning. One thing that has struck me while doing these reports is the apathy toward Puerto Rico. People tend to think of it as a distant third world country when in fact it's been a U.S. territory since 1917. But there are those who care passionately about what's going on there. And if they weren't stepping up right now, the situation in Puerto Rico would be much worse. If you could help, I have a list of some of these organizations on our webpage. Go to KWTX.com and click on the Find It button.